The first step to creating a VirtualBox virtual machine is to go to virtualbox.org and click on Downloads, and then download the Windows hosts file if you're running a Windows system. And it's downloading below. After it's done downloading, you're going to launch the executable and walk through the installation. You can use the default options. You're going to let it install. Once it's finished installing and you've answered any of the prompts, you're going to click Finish, and you are going to launch VirtualBox. You see the icon in the bottom? However, before you create a new virtual machine you can use, you need to download an ISO file. For this video, we are going to be installing a Ubuntu virtual machine. So you'll need to go to the Ubuntu download site. And you can pick, for this we will pick the most recent Ubuntu version, 17.10.1. Click Download. We are not going to make any donations. Click on Not Now, take me to the downloads. I have a 64-bit operating system, so I'm downloading the 64-bit Ubuntu ISO file. And I will click Save, and I will let that download. After the ISO is finished downloading, which you can see in the lower left, it's in the downloads directory, right here. You will configure VirtualBox to create a virtual machine using this ISO file, disk image file. So in VirtualBox, you will click on New. You can call it anything, Ubuntu VM. Click Next. You can allocate any amount of memory you want. For starting, we will start at 2 gig. You can keep this at Create a Virtual Hard Disk Now. You can keep this at VDI. You can keep this at Dynamically Allocated. And then here you are configuring how much of the hard disk space on your host computer do you want to use. We will go at about 14 gig and click Create. As you can see, nothing happened because the system is powered off. When you click Start, it will be as if you are putting a DVD in the computer and booting from the DVD to install the operating system. So we will click Start. Start. Looks like there was an error. Let me look into that. Okay, what I forgot to do is, where it says host drive D, I need to go into the downloads directory and select the Ubuntu ISO file, and then click start. Now it's as if you're booting from a Ubuntu DVD. And I'll get rid of this error at the top. You can see Ubuntu is slowly coming up. Okay, here we are going to install Ubuntu, so we'll click on Install Ubuntu. Normally I would check download updates while installing Ubuntu, but to save time, we are not going to do that. You can always install updates later. So I will click Continue. Because you're creating a virtual machine, erase disk and install Ubuntu. That will not delete anything on your host system. Basically, the disk space that's allocated for Ubuntu will be erased, and that's what we would expect. So I will click on Install Now. Continue. Click on New York or whatever time zone you are in. English. And here you can call it anything that you want. So I will say Darth Vader. Username will be Darth. And the password, I will pick, for simplicity's sake, Darth123. Darth123. And then normally I would not pick this, but I will pick on login automatically to save time. And now what's happening is it's as if you're installing an operating system from a DVD. It's copying the files to the virtual disk space that you allocated, and then it will install the operating system. As you can see, instead of copying the files to the disk space, now it is installing and configuring the operating system. After it did all that work, installation is complete. Now we need to restart our virtual machine. Now Ubuntu is booting up. Ubuntu does not know this is a virtual machine. It thinks it is an actual physical machine. So we need to hit enter. Now Ubuntu is booting up. And here is Ubuntu in all its glory. So one thing you can do is and this is what makes one of the things that makes virtual machines great is you can create a doc. This is just an example. I'm going to change the operating system. Test file. Save. And I'm going to save it in on my desktop. And LibreOffice is free. So here's my document. One thing you can do is, in a virtual machine, you can take a snapshot. Call this February 12, 2018. Fresh install. Click OK. So say this is a super important document and I delete it and I empty the trash. Or say you make any kind of change. Maybe you install something or uninstall something. You can go into Machine, okay, we are going to attempt to restore a snapshot. Notice I deleted my document. So I will power down the system. And you notice here I have a snapshot. So I will... Okay, so I went away and I created two snapshots just to test. The snapshot 1 has the document we created. Snapshot 2 has it deleted. Over here on the right, you can see snapshots. So you can see we have two snapshots. I'm going to restore the one that had the document that I deleted and flushed from the desktop. Click Restore, and it will create another snapshot. And start snapshot 1. As you can see, snapshot 1. And it's restoring it. And here's the file. Restore points are great because it allows you, and you cannot do this on a hard drive physical machine very easily. It allows you to make changes and to perform security features that may compromise a machine, but you can always restore it to a snapshot. So say you're doing an investigation on a domain. baddomain.com. If you don't like it, all you do is restore it to the previous snapshot. Now what's interesting is also, if you look on your hard drive here, You will see C. Okay, so if you look on the hard drive of your host machine, you go to C, Users, VirtualBox VMs, and here is your Ubuntu operating system, taking about 5 gig, and here are the various snapshots that you created. So virtual machines are very handy to do security work, to have another system you can use that you don't want to compromise, or if you want to do testing. And when you're done, you can shut it down. And if you really don't want to, or you mess it up, all you got to do is click remove, delete all files, and it's gone. It doesn't exist anymore. See? So another good feature of a virtual machine, besides creating snapshots, is you just created this Ubuntu VMware. Now it could be any operating system, but suppose you need another copy of it. You can right click on it, you can click clone. Let's call it Ubuntu VM Clone 2. A full clone. Now it's just going to use double the hard disk space. So you're basically creating another virtual machine with the image you already created. Now if you have a system with a lot of memory and a lot of disk space, you could install 3 or 4 operating systems and create your own little network to do network testing or play around with network configurations. As you can see, it doesn't take too long. I have 16 gigs of memory on this system, but I do not have a very large hard drive. So there, I have 2 machines. You can also look at their network settings. Right now I'm using NAT, so it's just sharing the host system's interface. You can set up your adapter just as if it was hardwired. So I will start that. Go here. Click on Settings, Network, change it from that to internal, and click Start. So you can see I have 2 virtual machines running. My original one on the right and my clone copy on the left. And just to get a reference, I have 16 gigs of memory, and I'm using about half of it. So on this Ubuntu system on the right, I wanted to get my IP address. If config is not currently installed, you can install it by typing sudo apt-get install nettools. So it's just like a regular operating system. Sudo apt, oh, typo. Another typo. So those are some of the benefits and features of running a virtual machine. As you can see, it is very handy and useful for anyone in information technology.